We got Mike Zimba, the one man Luka Doncic has never forgiven.
Who is the one man Luka Doncic has never forgiven, and what could he possibly have done to make Luka despise him? Well, Luka has always had very high expectations for his teammates, due to the fact that as a young player, he has been one of the best individual talents we have ever seen. In his first 5 seasons combined, Luka averaged 27.6 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 8 assists a game. Only 5 players in NBA history have averaged at least 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game in their first 5 seasons, and every player on this list who is not named Luka is considered an all-time legend. Going further, in the current NBA, Luka has been named first team All-NBA the last 4 seasons in a row. Only 3 players in the post-merger era have made All-NBA 4 times in their first 5 years: Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, and Luka Doncic. Luka is the youngest player on this list by 2 years. However, despite this historic run of success at a young age, Luka remains on the Dallas Mavericks with a roster that we can only call questionable. Dallas has no other young stars alongside Luka, and they also do not have the trade pieces required to bring in a big star. But
they got Kyrie.
At one point they did. In 2020, the Mavs had a 24-year-old Kristaps Porzingis, who had just been named an NBA All-Star 2 years earlier, giving the Mavericks what seemed like the perfect pick-and-roll partner for Luka. This duo was supposed to lead them into the next decade, Nash and Nowitzki 2.0 only. Instead, we have this clip from Kristaps Porzingis as he is currently on Boston.
Do you feel like there was a little bit of a young bull with you, specifically with like the Luka dynamic?
Early on, for sure.
Yeah.
I think communication, like maturity, communication on both of our part should have been better.
It's clear that on Porzingis' side, things are cool now. After doing his time and being freed from the Washington Wizards, it is Kristaps Porzingis who is on the #1 seed Celtics. It is Porzingis who should be playing on a roster that competes for a championship for years to come. Luka remains in Dallas, but after watching Porzingis' success on the Celtics, it's apparent these two could have been able to make it work, which brings up 2 questions. Why did Kristaps Porzingis fail with the Dallas Mavericks? And more importantly, why does Luka Doncic still not forgive him? So what's up, guys? Mike here.
Luka has beef with them?
And the Mavs. This is how
But he doesn't have beef with Luka.
After KP was traded.
Kristaps Porzingis. That was a big trade that happened.
Well, it was surprising, you know. I was actually taking a nap and I woke up. I saw KP was traded. I didn't expect it at all. Things didn't work the way it should.
It's as if Luka could not care less. Remember, this was the second best player on his roster getting moved. Unfortunately, Luka did care. He was just hiding his real reactions of relief or possible joy. Luka has remained very quiet on the KP front. When asked in press conferences, he said he respects Porzingis' professionalism. He's always said he respects his professionalism. Only that's all we've heard, and that is where this story gets complicated. But guys, before we continue, I'm very excited to thank Ada for sponsoring today's video. As did you know, there are treatments available now for COVID-19?
Max. Dang it, Mike!
The website for major
Mike, you sponsored by Wix? I don't use Wix.
This to court. Thank you to Ada for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back into that video. Because on the court, KP did appear to be a professional, while Luka did this to Porzingis. Several videos during this time period were created to show Luka seemingly refusing to pass the ball to KP in situations that at times appeared to be ridiculous. Watching Luka with his infinite court vision,
bro, how many clips of this he has?
KP is painful to any basketball fan's soul. This is absolutely the sign of an immature young player who was definitely still figuring things out. It is also the sign, though, of an extreme conflict. So we know, while Luka certainly did not love Porzingis' time in Dallas, Luka was not blameless. I'm sure a veteran version of him would have taken a much different approach. Instead, though, we had a classic story of 2 gigantic egos clashing, only it is Luka who we know is very vocal with his emotions. It is Luka who we know can be found screaming at referees possibly today. In 2020 and 2021, though, Luka could be found arguing with his teammates on the court, seemingly throwing a tantrum at times. This doesn't add up. Luka was a professional basketball player at the age of 16. He comes from a very professional background, and he also will do anything to win. We know this. On top of that, several of his teammates have highly praised him, and his current
We passed it behind his head.
on top of
bro, how you let him do this to you? The ball's over here. Why are you looking over there?
Several of his
How do you like? How do people let you do this to you? I don't understand how people fall for this.
highly praised
He went right behind your head and passed.
him, and his current teammates fight for him on a nightly basis on the court. I think Dwight Powell might die for him. So why was Luka so triggered during this 2020 season? Well, how about because Porzingis, while silent, was certainly letting his own massive ego show at the time.
Kristaps Porzingis, some people have accused him of being jealous. From my sources in Dallas, this past year, his jealousy was considered more problematic than his game.
KP, though, is a stoic man. He's a professional. He did not let it show on the court. I do have respect for that as well. However, if we go to the stat sheet, the evidence of what Porzingis was doing is right in front of us in the form of true shooting percentage and usage rate. During this time period, it was known Kristaps wanted the ball more. He thought the offense should revolve more around him. In the 2020 season, KP had a usage rate over Nikola Jokic, as his 27% usage rate was good for 32nd in the league. In 2020, KP had a true shooting percentage of 55.1%, which was good for 128th. In the 2024 season for the Boston Celtics, KP has a usage percentage of 23.2, good for 69th, and a true shooting percentage of 65.9%, good for 11th in the entire NBA. A drastic difference, and during their time together, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal.
Dang!
Drastic difference, and during
Bro,
their
Shaq did
time
that?
together, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal.
He almost hit himself, dude. Dumb dude. He almost hit himself with the dude about to hurt himself, bro. His scoreboard almost came on his head.
Openly traded criticism at each other in the media, but were still able to put their pride to the
Dumbass.
side. In the last 2 seasons together, and one of them got shipped away. They won 3 titles. That is because both Shaq and Kobe were true men.
He didn't do it right.
During the Lakers three-peat as the second guy, Kobe was named second team All-NBA, second team All-NBA, then first team All-NBA, as he was also first team All-Defense, second team All-Defense, and second team All-Defense. Porzingis in the 2020 and 2021 seasons has admitted that he let his ego take over. It is obvious he saw himself on the same superstar path as Luka, and can we blame him? Porzingis was very hyped up. If I was in his shoes myself, maybe I would have thought that the ball should have came to me more, but the stat comparison between Luka and KP in their 2 years together.
Why is the ball on top of his head?
Luka played at a near MVP level, while KP played at a very respectable, almost all-star level. However, those are very, very different things. KP has thrived in Boston because he has accepted his role as not the true superstar on the team. He knows that Jason Tatum is. In 2020,
Look at that flop by Harden, bro.
as not the true superstar on the team.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
In 2021, Luka and KP's last season together, the Mavericks would lose to the Clippers in the first round as KP complained about his role of being told to stand in the corner and shoot. At this point in his career, Porzingis still saw himself as a guy that
Isn't that what they tell you to do in Boston and you're fine with it?
able
What
to
did you
become a Joel Embiid MVP type. The stats show us that he was shooting like that, but not performing like that. And then, the very next year after Porzingis was traded, with Dwight Powell playing instead of KP, the Mavericks reached the Western Conference Finals as Luka continued to be the same player, which is really just a huge loss for all of us as basketball fans. Because in 2020 and in 2021, the media took over and we all heard the same thing. Luka and Porzingis just don't fit together. In fact, we still hear that. They just didn't fit. It couldn't work there. Why?
Because Luka's so ball dominant. That's why. He has no experience playing with another ball dominant guy like Kyrie does.
If Luka and KP, both of them, had tucked away those egos, well, we are seeing right now in Boston what Porzingis is capable of. And really, where was the logic? We had a 6'8" first-team All-NBA point guard running pick and roll or pick and pop action with a 7'2" All-Star center who could either dive to the rim and dunk or duck back and shoot threes. On paper, this seemed ideal. Only Kristaps Porzingis never, ever dove to the rim to a degree where it truly seemed like he was making a point. In 2020, Kristaps took a career high 7.1 3-pointers a game, 2.3 more than he had taken with his last season with the Knicks in 2018. If we look at Porzingis' shot chart when he was a young star in 2018, he was named an all-star, but we find two things. One, despite the all-star nod, KP was shooting too many long twos. He was just playing inefficient basketball. However, 2, he was at least switching up his shots. He had a versatile offensive game, and maybe that is because he had more offensive freedom. But here's another clip of Porzingis just admitting that him and Luka were not exactly mature together.
We were playing a game in Memphis. Rick called a timeout. He's mumbling a bunch of words, and it's clearly out of anger. Rick takes him out of the game, and Luka reacts or whatever. He's now like 10 feet away. Rick was like, "Would you guys stop being babies?" And you go, "Why don't you tell Luka to stop being a baby?" And Rick goes, "Hey, Luka, stop being a baby."
I think Luka.
And Rick goes, "Hey, Luka, stop being a baby."
Oh, W coach.
I think we can agree why Luka
No wonder why he's trying with the Pacers now.
may have gotten frustrated at the fact that Porzingis shot 73% at the rim and absolutely awfully everywhere else, but continued to take mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper. Even his three-point shooting in this season on over 7 attempts per game was just average. So while Luka may respect the professionalism, the on-court shots KP took and his refusal to ever work with Luka is why Luka will never forgive Porzingis for his time in Dallas, as right now, it is Luka's biggest young star rival, Jason Tatum, who Porzingis is of course perfectly fitting in well with. It is Boston where of course Porzingis is 11th in the NBA in true shooting percentage now. It is in Boston where Porzingis can win titles over Luka. We know Luka is one of the biggest competitors in the league.
So you make this like a rivalry between Porzingis and Luka?
Saw with Devin
Like a
Booker
Kobe and Shaq?
and Luka is always seeking
See who gets the most rings?
revenge. I'm interested to see if we do ever get a playoff matchup between these two. That is it for today though. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I want to know, whose side are you on? Do you think that Luka took things too far with his no passing? Do you think Luka was a baby? Or do you think Porzingis with his shooting was doing his best to impersonate a human brick? Let me know down below. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day and cue that music. If you're still